If you're thinking about GMAT and you're thinking about applying to top MBA schools, you're likely thinking about getting a score above 700. Now, some people think that getting that score is nearly impossible. However, in this video, what we'll talk about is how to get a score above 700 in under 90 days. If you are new to this channel, my name is Ivan Lesso with MBA Think. Feel free to subscribe below and hit that bell so that you'll get notified every time I post a new video. All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. The first thing that I would highly recommend is that you schedule at least 3 months and you stay consistent in studying for GMAT. The best way to stay consistent is studying for GMAT either in the morning or in the evening, and do it every single day for at least 2 to 3 hours. Now, what happens if you are not consistent is you will rush through at the end and you'll cram a lot of information and likely won't cover everything that you need before the exam. Now, if you think that you can take GMAT just right away without studying for at least 3 months, go ahead and try it and let me know how it goes. So I would definitely recommend scheduling an exam at least 3 months out and then planning to study every single day for at least 2 to 3 hours. The second thing that you'll have to do is you'll have to focus on the right study materials. Now, a lot of people get overwhelmed by all of the different resources that are available either in the form of books or online. But what I highly recommend that you do is you focus on 2 things. Number 1 is the official GMAT study guide that you can get on their website, and I'll leave a link in the description below. And the second thing that I highly recommend is focusing on Magoosh. And Magoosh has different options for you to study, but it is one of the best prep materials that you could find. And again, just focus on one. Don't focus on multiple vendors, because what happens is a lot of people just buy everything that they see being available, and then they don't even know where to start. So focus on 2 things. 1, the official study guide for GMAT, and 2, the Magoosh study guide that I'll leave a link to in the description below. Now, once you have all of the study materials, what you have to do then is take a test, take a practice test. There are tests that are available for free, either the official tests or tests from Magoosh. And you can just take one and do it in the under basically the time constraints that the official time constraints of GMAT. And the reason that I recommend doing the practice test first before you even start studying is so that you can understand where you're currently at in all of the areas that GMAT tests people on. So for example, you could be very strong in quant and not so strong in verbal, or vice versa. What that will help you do is then focus your time on the right areas so that you can be as efficient as possible in those 90 days and you don't end up just studying stuff that you know and doing problems that are easy, and instead you focus on concepts that you really need to grasp and are part of your weak areas. Again, all of that should be really determined in the first practice test that you do. Now, if you are not familiar with the structure of GMAT and the types of questions, what you could do in the beginning is take some practice questions, and you can find them online. You could just Google for sample GMAT questions, so you could at least know the structure of the questions. Now, once you do a practice test, if you're like me, the area that you need to focus on the most is verbal. And the reason that verbal is super important is that even if you get a perfect score on quant, you still need to score better than 70% of test takers in order for you to get above a score above 700. So verbal is very important. It is not easy, but your test will show whether you need to focus on verbal or if you need to focus on quant, or maybe you need to focus on both. So definitely take the test and determine what your weak areas are. But don't discount verbal. I know that it is not as fun to study or do verbal problems as much as it is to focus on quant, at least for me. It might be different for you, but focus on your weak areas it will likely be verbal. And if you ask anybody, they will tell you that verbal is key to getting a 700 plus score on GMAT. Now, once you take that practice exam and you understand your weak areas and you start reviewing your weak areas, what you'll have to do then is practice regularly, do questions, understand what you get wrong and why you get those things wrong, and then create a list of different areas that you need to study. And also don't try to memorize the questions that you get wrong. Chances are that you likely won't see the exact same questions on GMAT, so it's really important that you understand the concepts, and more importantly, the concepts that you get wrong, so you can then sharpen your knowledge of those concepts and tackle those questions better in the future practice tests. But practice rigorously, take the questions, maybe take a practice test every few weeks or so. Now, the best way to drastically increase your score is to learn from your mistakes. Don't just ignore the questions that are hard. Don't ignore questions that you don't know the answers to. Make sure that you really understand the concepts inside out, because if you could tackle hard questions, that is really key to getting a high score, because GMAT is really adaptive and you start with easy questions first and then you move on, and as you get those easy questions correctly, you will get more hard questions, and then if you get the hard questions correctly, you'll get more of those hard questions too. So it's not the number of questions that you get correctly. The GMAT exam also takes into account how hard those questions are and assigns more weight to those hard questions. Now, if you are not getting a score above 700 on your practice exams, don't be discouraged. Definitely step back and understand the big picture. What is preventing you from achieving that score? Is it the time pressure? Maybe it's getting trapped on those questions that are tough. Some questions could be tricky and they could lead you to the wrong answer very quickly. So understand the big picture and understand the reasons why you're not getting to where you want to be in terms of the score. But definitely don't get discouraged. If you put the time in, if you focus on the right study materials, you should be fine. Cracking the GMAT is a matter of persistence, time, and your motivation to getting into the school that you really want. But I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching this video. If you are new to this channel, again, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.